Good day, Mr. Conocono. This is Roy Luther Agad from your second year medical laboratory science class, section B2. And in this video, I'll be discussing in detail the exercise prescription I have designed for my trainee, Ms. Hannah Grace Sagosoy, for both cardiovascular conditioning and muscular resistance training using the FIDT format. FIDT stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. So without further ado, let's get the video started. So for the introductory part, my training will be starting on Monday. That's August 7, 2023, but not necessarily on August 7. That will be up to her. And she will be doing this initially for 2 consecutive weeks as instructed. So my trainee is 20 years old, and her initial prescription, since this would be her starting, that's the same thing with number of progression, so it's deemed 1. And jump starting with the cardiovascular conditioning, let's begin with frequency. This should measure how often she would perform the exercises every week. So since instructed, again, she'll be doing the activities thrice a week. And acknowledging the sedentary lifestyle she's been through for quite some time, I would not let her risk her body into abrupt exposure. So yeah, again, thrice a week would do good, at least for this activity. Now, I for intensity. So by definition, this goes with the level of vigor at which the activity is performed. So it's all about how forceful the exercises will be. Still with consideration to her existing stats, I would prefer to engage her in moderate intensity. So as much as I want her to exercise similarly to how enthusiasts do, I'm also aware of her limits and well enough. So I do not plan to push beyond them, as it should be moderate. Now for the resting heart rate, it's the BPM without prior exercise or exertion, of course. So here it's 78 beats per minute, and this value is actually very important because she'll be using it in determining all the remaining components. So here, the heart rate reserve, it says 70% as translated by the table. Under the physiological measures column, there's a percentage of maximal heart rate, and it gives 64 to 75 for moderate intensity. That's how I got 70%. Now for the target rate, heart rate at high and low intervals, we'll be using the formula, the difference of 220, that's a constant, representing maximum heart rate. So yeah, it's a difference between 220 and age and resting heart rate, multiplied to the heart rate reserve and added with a separate value of the resting heart rate. So as you can see, I have subtracted 220 with 20 her age and 78 her resting heart rate, and I multiplied it with 0.7, that's the heart rate reserve in decimal form, and added 78 again. So that gives me a target heart rate of 165 beats per minute. And the same applies to the heart rate at high interval, while we'll only be altering the heart rate reserve factor for the lower interval. So here we'll take the half value of it, that's 35%, and we get 121 beats per minute. So just to clarify, these values are approximations, so I have rounded them off to the nearest whole number. Moving on to the Borge rate of perceived exertion, that can be found in this table. So my preferred intensity translates to 3, moderate. So in the modified Borge scale, that's represented by the number 3. For the third category, we have time. It's expectedly understandable with just a word, so we'll be using these diagrams in identifying the targets. So since I chose moderate intensity, I'd be using this model and do a 3-minute warm-up at a low interval. Also 30 minutes of exercise, that's the stimulus, and 3 minutes of cooling down at low interval. So my training would be repeating this for 4 cycles, because 2 or more would be too exhausting already. Finally, for the type of exercise, in a nutshell, that's the routine should be doing, and I was allowed to choose between cardio, aerobic, flexibility, and strengthening exercise. And what more can satisfy these 4-in-1? So you guessed that right. I have chosen Zumba dancing for my training since she's also into dancing. So that would be very enjoyable at the same time. Beneficial. Moving on to the muscular resistance training prescription, we have relatively the same introductory details as the first prescription. So training age is 20, the goal is to enhance breathing and release toxins via perspiration. Now it is of global knowledge that we excrete toxins with sweat. So imagine the amount of excretion just as we exercise for 2 straight weeks. Volume that's moderate, which will be done twice a week, satisfying of course the 48-hour minimum gap dedicated rest. And moving downwards, I've personally chosen these 3 warm-up routines, seeing these as the most manageable, at least. So that's the arms across chest, side bend, and pelvic stretch, which should be doing for 30 seconds each, and to treat them fairly, should equally be repeating them for 2 sets with 1 repetition each. Now for the exercise proper, the core routines of this activity, I have chosen the relatively easier ones, which are again Zumba, squats, crunches, planks with hip dips, Spider-Man planks, tricep dips, and 20-second wall sits. Now these loads per 1 RM or repetition maximum, and RPE, that's the rating of perceived exertion, are derived from the tables in the module. And the RPE values here are the only ones that differ from this section, and that's mainly because I perceive each of their difficulty levels differently. So harder ones are given higher numbers and lower for the more manageable ones. Lastly, we have the cool down stretch, and I have listed here 3 preferences: cobra stretch, child's pose, and lower back stretch. So my trainee would equally be performing them for 30 seconds each, 2 sets, and 1 rep. Now I guess that will be all for this video, and rest assured I'll be guiding my trainee all throughout her training. Thanks for watching.